I'm attorney Nick Alcock here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Amanda Knox trial and the appeal, and they were successful in winning their appeal, and Amanda Knox is now free. And there are some interesting aspects about the Knox case which I think that are important. And the first that I really noticed is that this is a case where there really wasn't a tremendous amount of physical evidence. There wasn't, the CSI moment where they had the smoking gun. They had some DNA that they tested, but they couldn't really attribute that to Miss Knox. And they also had some circumstantial evidence, but there really wasn't any hard evidence that put her at the murder scene, that put her basically responsible for a murder. They also had a confession, but it sounds like the way that they conducted the investigation, they were speaking to her in Italian, her attorney wasn't present, and exactly what it is that she confessed to wasn't that she had murdered someone, but she created some conflicting statements. And whenever I see that happening, it just makes me wonder exactly what people are thinking. There is a right way to conduct an investigation, and there is a right way to make certain that, especially in a murder investigation, that if you are speaking with a defendant, if you're speaking with a suspect, there's a way to do it to make certain that that statement that they provide can't be challenged later. You don't want to obviously put somebody under a lot of duress. If they don't speak the language, they should have someone speaking to them in English. And there just are a lot of very simple mistakes, it sounds like, that they made in this case, that if they'd done the right thing, they either would have realized that she is not guilty and they never would have prosecuted her, or they would have had a much more solid case against her. As it is, there's still quite a number of questions as to exactly what happened here. This is a situation that isn't just limited to the Italian justice system. And in the United States and in Arizona, there are many cases where the police will be speaking with a suspect. Maybe the suspect doesn't speak English very well. Maybe they're interviewing him over 4 or 5 hours, and they're pushing and pushing and pushing, and finally get the person to say something. We worked on a case relatively recently where a gentleman was being interviewed very, very harshly for about 4 hours, and at the very end, the detective said, well, it would be much better for the victim if you would just accept responsibility. It would be much better for the victim, in this case the victim was a family member, if you would just accept responsibility for what you did. It'll be easier for that victim to recover from this. And so our client said, well, I didn't do this, but if that's what it would take, then fine, I'll say that I did it if that will make it better for her. And what they did, what the prosecutor did, was basically just rely on that little statement, and they played that statement for the jury, excluding essentially everything else that had happened, all the denials up until that point. So you do see cases that rely on confessions. You do see cases like that where the police, if they just approached the case from a different way, they would realize that they didn't have a case, or if they'd approached it the right way, maybe they could have a case that would be stronger. And why it is they do these interviews the way they do them, I'm not exactly sure. In any case, so with the Knox case, I think that the important take is that the justice system can be flawed, both in Europe and in here. And it seems that when you have a prosecutor, or you have police officers who are really highly motivated to get a conviction, that's when they push the envelope, and that's when they wind up basically getting convictions that wind up being overturned, or they wind up losing in court. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it.